YouTube's a little bit of time to figure out what it's doing with its life. There we are. Hello, hello. Welcome to episode number 76. This episode is going to be called Stewardship, and we are moving along from belonging into stewardship. And what does that mean? As you can see, I'm in my new studio room. I did a lot of work over the weekend to get it all cleaned up and organized, and so it's feeling really good to be able to utilize this space for streaming. And so there's still some things that are going to be happening. Hello, kindred angels, good to see you. I'm doing well. It's I felt really relaxed today, so that was really nice. So last week in episode 75, we were chatting about belonging and kind of separating that from exclusion and inclusion, having that discussion and what belonging really means. So belonging is a basic human need. Like, we need to have relationship. And many of us struggle with what that means and how to feel fulfilled in that part of a relationship with ourselves. And so it was my pleasure to bring that transmission last week to keep continuing to go, because we're just continuing to tread and go into the deep recesses of ourselves and work to figure out what are we here for, how can we feel fulfilled. Hello, Mike. I don't remember, I just remember you making things. The heat has been very bad. I know it's actually been really mild here on the West Coast, so I'm not complaining. That's not wood. That's drywall, but whatever, we'll make it we'll make it work. So last week we were talking about belonging and separating that from feeling included, because included, I think, has a little bit different connotation to it. With belonging, it really is like us feeling a part of a group. And if you want to, dive deeper and kind of hear the conversation I was having, you guys can tune into last week's episode. But we're going to be transitioning into stewardship, and what does stewardship mean, and how can we take this, because we're working on becoming an embodied part of who we are here in this present physical sense, in this 3D realm that we're in. I've been very sleepy and my thinking has been foggy. Oh my word. I might be a little stressed out or something. Okay, so the one place where I wholly recognize having this lack of sense of belonging, or this definitely a lack of, really mindful stewardship of the energy that I've been given. So it's really interesting today. I like to go onto Facebook, and I have some groups I'm a part of, and somebody came on, and it's a legitimate question, is they say, my paychecks are so little. How do you ladies do it? I don't have a lot of savings. My paychecks are little. And so I don't feel, basically saying, I feel scarcity. I'm not feeling abundant. And I know all too well what that feels like. And many of you might feel the very same. Hello, I am from Oregon, USA. Yashpak, Az Hagura. I don't know how to say that. Did I say it right? You're in India? Well, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you. So I'm on this post, and I'm looking at it, and really, I know what that feels like, to feel scarcity, to feel like I don't have enough to keep me sane and steady and feeling like I have some sort of foundation in my life. And there was a period of time recently where I had absolutely no income coming in and had to figure out how am I going to make everything work. And I ended up making it happen. But it was an experience that made me realize from a bigger picture how much I had. So I had to really look at, how am I viewing the world? How am I participating in that world? And moving from this place of lack and scarcity into a place of abundance and stewardship, and really just shifting my mindset to really focus on these areas of abundance, which we all have abundance, like we just may not recognize it. Okay, so when we go from a place of belonging, some of the questions that we might start asking ourselves, Hispanic girls are so pretty. Watching your stream for the first time, thank you for joining. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. It helps my algorithm. And we just talk about deep emotional, spiritual, mental health. AI is one of my passion topics. And so I'd love for you guys to join me in my quest as we, go into this, wherever we're going. It's going to be a great ride already. But many of us start asking ourselves, and we spend years doing this, maybe even from, your teens, you're asking yourselves, like, where are my people? Why do I feel overlooked? Why does it seem like everyone else has a place except for me? And what is wrong with me? You might have these questions kind of flowing through you, and these questions are very human. It's a very human thing to start asking yourself these questions, because belonging, like I said at the beginning, is this basic human need that we have. Like, there's no getting around it. We want to feel like we belong to something or a group and have that purpose and have that meaning in our life. Okay? But these questions are not a destination, okay? These questions are really a doorway into, looking at, where are we going in the future? What is this doorway? Where are we going? Okay. So, like I said, last week I did talk a lot about belonging. So please go and watch that if that is something that you're interested in hearing a little bit more about. I did go over a lot of this. Hey, what exactly on the topic of AI, or did I mishear that? Sorry, I just got here. Well, welcome. Evie, I talk about AI. So my position with AI is and I have many, if you go back into my streams, I talk about it. But my position with AI is it's a new age. So we just left the digital age or the information age, and now we're moving into the age of AI. And the age of AI really is this pressure or tension point where it's a new power, a cognitive, let's call it a cognitive power. Because what it's doing is it's like mentally calculating and organizing everything for us. And so it really isn't here to replace, it's not intended to replace humans or intended to be this horror or terror that people talk about. I think in like a lot of dystopian ways. And I understand that. Like I've held that belief before. But I think it's here to aid us into going into the next step of where we're growing as humanity. Let me see if I can figure out what a really good episode to cover that is. Because I just did it. Go to episode 73, The Great Disembodiment. and I think that will give you a lot more background. It's my position is not widely held, and I don't want to say it's controversial, but there's a lot of people that want to believe that AI is here to take over and that we're helpless and whatever, but I think it's here for a completely different reason, much like the information age was here for a completely different reason than we think. So I encourage you to check that out, episode 73, The Great Disembodiment. I don't think I talk too fast, that a 1.5 speed is too bad. So, take that as it is, but you may want to keep it a little bit normal paced. I don't know how people watch things and where it's double. That's really hard for me to. Yeah, no, please let it be controversial. Yeah, I definitely want to make breakthroughs. And I do want to say, while I feel like my voice is just one in this wilderness, that I did come across another video of somebody who was talking about AI in a little bit more positive light, like I have been talking about. And, obviously there are dangers as humanity, that we can get lazy and not really work on ourselves. But that's what this podcast is all about, is let's look inside and figure out how we can connect with ourselves, and then everything else will start to reorder because we are the muse of creation, okay? And that's really the fundamental part, the foundational part that I look at my work and what I'm doing here and what I'm building, as far as the architecture that I'm seeing, and really inviting everyone to see it from that perspective. Yes. Yeah, who else is going to do it? People shouldn't limit themselves so much. Okay, so last week I was talking about belonging in episode 75. This includes being included, being invited, being liked, being chosen, fitting in. All of these things we might confuse belonging with, but they're not the same as belonging. So you may have experienced some of these things. So you may be surrounded by people, but still feel profoundly alone. So you can go to work, you can go into town, and you can still feel alone, even though you may live in maybe you live in New York City, but you still feel alone because you don't have those connections, right? Because you don't feel seen in those situations. You can be invited into a room, but never feel safe enough to exhale. You may not be safe enough to think that you can speak up. You may not feel safe enough to be seen or even be heard breathing, okay? You can fit into a culture and you can slowly abandon yourself. If you've ever experienced burnout, that's what that is. Like, you've abandoned yourself so much that you try to fit into a culture that you really don't belong in. And it really took me a long time to figure that out. If you go into an interview and they say, what makes you a good fit for this company? And you might say something, that sounds pleasing on the ears, and completely okay. I've done that before, said that before. But there was a job that I had, and in the beginning, I fit in really well. But over time, I started to not fit in. I started to not feel like I belonged there. I started to feel excluded from the general group. The things that they like to do, I didn't really care to do. So there was this separation that was happening. And, well into it, I could feel that it wasn't in alignment and that I was starting to not fit into that business culture that I was in. And so you can try to fit into the culture, but you may still be abandoning yourself, trying to make yourself fit into that culture. But true belonging, true belonging begins internally. It starts internally, and it begins there before it's even reflected, one iota reflection externally, okay? So if you're abandoning yourself, of course you're not going to feel like you fit in, or that you're surrounded by people that see you, or that you can be in a room with a bunch of people and feel safe enough to be yourself. All right? So true belonging begins internally. True belonging is knowing that you're not abandoning yourself. Okay? So the more disconnected that we become with ourselves, the more desperately we search for someone else, somewhere or someone else to tell us that we belong into that group. We want to hear those words of affirmation. We want to hear other people say, yeah, you belong here. I love having you here. Please, we love to hear that. Even if we want to play coy or, whatever, you can definitely play that game. But we really do want people to recognize us, see us, feel safe around, and to show up as ourselves, and not be scared to hide away and try to pretend like we fit in, okay? So that belonging is very, very important. This is the core of relationship with others. And, part of emotional intelligence is emotional and social intelligence is being able to recognize, one, that within ourselves, have that self-awareness of, I'm not showing up as my true self, and what is going on? Why am I not showing up as my true self? Should probably land well. Hello, Braden Wood. How are you? Okay. So we're getting into stewardship. That's where we're moving into. Okay. And, one thing about the digital age or the information age where, we start from the internet to where we are today, we're kind of in the AI age. We're just in this threshold stage of the AI age. Now that we're moving into this AI age and we've kind of gone through all of the information age, we feel even more disconnected because of the overabundance. It's almost like crippled part of our social selves, because now instead of relying on our township or our family groups, now we've expanded so far that I can be best friends with somebody in Scotland, who Scotland does watch. Lulu Euphoria, shout out. But I can be friends with somebody in Scotland, okay, but never have face-to-face met that person. So there is a little bit of disconnection, and we just need to become really aware and conscious of how those relationships have shifted and changed, okay? So this where do I belong question is a part of this great shift within ourselves, okay? This question starts emerging where instead of asking ourselves, where do I belong? We start asking ourselves, because we're moving into stewardship, what has been entrusted to me, okay? What has been entrusted to me? Now, this is a really fascinating thing. So 2026 is the year of the fire horse. Okay, so it's very much different from last year where we were in, was it a wood snake year? Chinese astrology. So last year was very much a scorpionic transformation type energy, whereas now we're kind of in this movement and connection energy. It's like go, 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 because it's gone from the scorpionic transformation energy of the snake into the horse, which is very much a Sagittarian influence, okay? And that was a really amazing thing for me to kind of look into and recognize. So I'm like, oh, okay, now I can see how the transitions and all these things are kind of connected, because that's just what I like to do. But when we're moving into stewardship, we've gone past that belonging question, and now we're looking at, okay, what's been entrusted to me? Because now that we've realized and recognized that, we don't abandon ourselves, we love ourselves, and we are, we belong, and we have our relationships, and we're stewarding or fostering those relationships in our lives. This is a really interesting part of personal growth. Yes, deep transformation. Last year, I named it, I didn't even know what was going to happen, but I named it the year of refinement. I like to kind of name my years, so I named it the year of refinement. Not even thinking about it, just like, oh yeah, it's the year of refinement. I really like that. And the year of refinement, if you look at like how things are refined, they get torched, like scorched earth hot in order to purify. And so last year was particularly difficult. I didn't realize that I was kind of putting that into the ether, showing me how important our words are and the way we talk and the things that we name. And then this year has been the year, I named it in December, I named it the year of connection, thinking, oh, I really want to connect with other people outside. This, this belonging thing is like, where do I belong? We're kind of constantly asking ourselves that because we change so much, or maybe I do, I change a lot. Constantly transforming, constantly transitioning from, a former into something. Always trying to become better in my personal growth. That's been kind of an important thing for a long time. At least I know I started definitely in 2019, really focusing on personal growth and not necessarily mastering, but just trying to be the best person I could be. So in that personal growth, my whole life just froze. I thought it was over. Well, hopefully, Evie, this year is a lot more gentler on you and that it's feeling a lot better and a lot more flowy. But yeah, last year was definitely a thing. So in the year of connection, a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, I was doing kind of a, it's a mid-year, just a mid-year check-in to see, okay, where have I gone since the beginning of the year? How is the year of connection going? And just kind of doing a check-in. And I realized that the year of connection that I had named, where I thought it was going to be connecting with others, was really just connecting with myself. Okay? Really looking at myself and truly embodying everything that I'm talking about in my podcasts, really embodying in my life, fostering, like I said, those relationships that have been entrusted to me. The relationships with my children, the relationships at work, the relationships, with friends around me, just really looking at what has been entrusted to me. Okay, so in relationship. And then also looking at my body, my physical body, of it being entrusted to me and being my grounding rod so that when I go in time travel, I have a space to come back to. So really just cleaning up the inside, the embodiment, so that starts to show up in the physical realm. So even just doing this room right now is a physical representation of the internal work that I'm doing of cleaning up certain rooms in my inner world, in my inner sanctuary. And knowing that this body has been entrusted to me to go forward and make whatever changes in the world and really become fully embodied in that. Like, it feels really good to be embodied, okay? So belonging is asking us to locate our place. Where do I belong? But now that I've been going through this act of embodiment through stewardship, like cleaning up the garden, when I think about that question in the Facebook chat of, I don't have a lot of money coming in. How do you ladies do it, or whatever? And really looking at that, my response is, because of last year and how scorched earth it got, now this year I just see everything as abundance. Everything is abundance, okay? So it really isn't looking at how much money is coming through my paycheck and having that be a basis of some sort of category that I get stuck into, okay? That is just money that's coming in that I get to steward, okay? I get to spend that money paying my bills, and I do it with gratitude. I do it with gratitude. I'm happy to be able to pay my light bill. I'm happy to be able to pay my rent. I'm happy to be able to pay the groceries, and really looking at how am I stewarding the money, paying off financial agreements that I have, and doing it in joy and gratitude that I get to do that, okay? Now, what do you think, if you're bringing that energy, if you're responding with that energy of I'm grateful for what I have coming in, to be able to steward it in these different ways that I can have a certain lifestyle, what do you think is going to happen? You think the energy is going to be like, oh, okay, well, don't go to her because she's super happy and joyful and grateful to pay off like whatever bills they are? Or is it going to invite more to come in? Because now I'm showing that I have responsibility of that energy, okay? So let's look outside of money. Me reorganizing all my possessions. So this room was a kind of the junk drawer room of the house, where like things just kind of get tossed in here. And it's a pretty wide, big space, okay? It's a nice space. But it wasn't like inviting or usable. And so I really focused my energy on, okay, let's go through all the things, let's sort through them, and then let's start incorporating things into the garage that have been sitting there that need to be attended to. And through this effort, now I'm showing up with stewardship of the possessions that I have. So I went through and I wiped down all the walls, and all the meanwhile, as I'm doing it, I'm just thinking, I'm so grateful that I have this house that I'm able to come in and exist in, and it's protecting me to a certain degree. And it's protecting my son and my housemate, and we all get to like enjoy this space. And now I'm rearranging it so it's even more enjoyable because I appreciate how it houses all of my possessions. Not that possessions are everything, but I'm grateful for the abundance of possessions that I have. And now I'm going to show that I care about these things, and just show care in where I place them and the energy that it has. So it's a beautiful space now that I get to enjoy, and I can do my live streams from. I can work from here for my work from home job. And I have another desk that I can do all of my creation. So anything that comes creatively to mind, I can go to my desk, and I have like a little creative work desk to do those things. All the meanwhile, like everything that I'm doing, sweeping the floor, dusting, wiping the walls down, rearranging and having things placed in certain areas, I'm doing it in gratitude and joy. And really, as I'm doing that energy work in the room, just being super grateful that I have this place to be, okay? Now, it doesn't matter if you have a little bit of things or if you have a lot of things. If you have a little bit of things or a lot of things, show all those things that you're grateful to have them, okay? That's how you invite more. You're showing that you can steward these things and steward them well. Definitely. Hello from Brazil. Cantos do virtual. I think that's how you say it. It can be hard to get going, though, that energy of gratitude. Yeah, but you start small. You start small. It doesn't have to be like redecorating a room. It could be something small, like tending to a plant. Maybe the first thing you get is a rosemary or some like aloe vera, and you just take care of that plant. I'm grateful for this plant to be here. I'm grateful that it's still alive. Grateful that I get to water it once a week or however often you do. in my kitchen, I always like to have a clean counter space because it invites me to be creative in the kitchen. So every time that I'm doing, I'm just like wiping down the counters, and I'm just like, I'm really grateful that I have all this counter space. I have a working fridge. I have a working, I have electricity. I have, basic ingredients that I can make whatever I want, whenever I want. I have all these, kitchen tools, whatever they are. And I have forks, and you'd be surprised. Like I had like 2 plates. What are they called? Corel plates. They're like these, it's not even glass. It's like hard to break, kind of like a ceramic. And I had 2 plates, and then I had like this plastic one that probably came from like Walmart 50-cent rack or something like that. It was like a picnic plate. So I had these 3 plates all for like a whole year, almost like a whole year. It felt like a whole year. And maybe like 3 bowls, and it was just me and my son, so it wasn't like a big deal, but it was, I was like, oh man, what I would just love to have a beautiful, I would love to have a beautiful set of dishes, and I really like some porcelain ones. So I didn't just rush out and go buy any old thing. I waited until I found something that I would really truly appreciate. And so I was on Marketplace. I'm like, oh my gosh, I found the set. It's a 45-piece set of porcelain dishes for $30. And I was like, I really, really want those. And you have no idea how hard it was to actually navigate, to actually pick those baddies up and be able to appreciate them. But they have this beautiful floral, so I feel like I'm in some sort of cottage. Every time I eat off of them, it's, a 6-piece, 6 plates, 6 bowls of 2 different sizes. Some smaller plates and some other like serving dishes. But like now that I have them, I'm like so grateful. I remember when I didn't have them. And I think about how grateful I am that like it took, I think, 3 attempts to even pick them up. It was a whole thing. And I was like, you know what, after this 3rd attempt, if I don't get these dishes, I guess it wasn't meant to be. And I just kind of leave it to that. Hello. Honestly, I'll try that. Yeah, it's so now I have this really beautiful dish set. I'm very grateful for them. So every time I wash them, I just think about how I didn't have them before and how grateful I am just to have them now, okay? And that's how small these acts can be of great gratitude and joy. And this really ties into being a good steward, okay? So we go from where do I belong to now what has been entrusted to me. And we start to look around in our physical space. What's been entrusted to me? I have this 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that I rent. I don't own it, I rent it. And I treat it as like a prized possession. Like I'm always wiping down walls. I'm always deep cleaning. I'm like, I go room by room by room, and I just attend to each room, and I just put a lot of thought and care and design into how the energy is going to be placed in that room, okay? So I start looking at that, and then I look at outside in my garden. It was overgrown for 5 years. I couldn't even go out there without just like, I cut down, there's a certain area of my garden where I just start crying. And that actually happened to me the other day. I was like remembering when I was out there trying to like tear all this stuff down. And, oh, thank you, little leaf. You look like a winner. So, yeah. So there's an area in my garden where if I go out into that area of my garden, I start to feel really sad. Like these emotions of, me being out there while I was grieving for my mother are still like nested in that area. So it was very overgrown, but now it's like very much cut back, and it's starting to shift and change and transition. And I know that tending to gardens, that's what happens, is you have to continue to connect that. Why actually, oh, old energy. Yeah, old energy. My mom passed away in 2024, and so me being out there was in that time, like 2023 until current, like this year, it was very, very hard for me to be out there. Okay. And not that we even experienced those moments together. It just was when I was grieving and I was trying to go out and like garden, I just couldn't even do anything. So it's very overgrown. It needs a lot of attention. And so now I just, between the house and the garden, I just kind of choose and hear what my body is ready for. If my body's ready for, 3 hours of cutting back foliage and cutting through blackberries and whatever, then I go out and do that. I just listen to where my body is and honor its ability and capability. Okay. So remember, belonging is asking us to locate our place, and our stewardship is really asking us to cultivate it. And so that's where we start with these tiny things. Maybe it's going into the bathroom and cleaning the toilet, and you're just like, maybe you don't like doing that, or even washing your laundry or something like that and putting the laundry away, and you don't like doing that. So instead of like grumbling, you just shift the mindset and just start saying, I really appreciate having all of these garments, and I appreciate being able to hang them in this closet, because a lot of people have different circumstances. Maybe they don't have those things. So really just being gratitude and cultivating all of the things that you have with extreme joy. You're just like, oh man, this is really great to be able to have this stuff. Okay. So we're cultivating. So one of these, belonging, is primarily oriented towards receiving. With belonging, and if we're trying to belong and locate in a certain spot, we're looking at what can I receive in that spot, okay? And that feeling can feel very scarcity minded or lacking in that belonging, because when you don't get the response of, oh, you belong here, then I think that's when you mentally start to become depressed of like, I don't belong anywhere. And I've had to deal a lot with that, like transition of like loosing that idea of belonging and locating somewhere to really caring and cultivating a relationship with myself on the inside in our inner little sanctuary world and on the outside. Okay, so the other, stewardship, is really oriented towards caring for the things around us, caring for ourselves. First and foremost, I think that's really where it starts. For many years, I was like, I need to go to the gym, I need to go to the gym, I need to go to the gym. And I never listened to that voice in my head until this year. I was like, you know what? Now's the time. Now is the time. Go get the gym membership, quit making excuses, go do the thing, show up. And so my rule because I'm being responsible steward of the money that I'm given, so I'm not paying for gym memberships that I'm not going to. So if you're going to go to the gym, if you're going to be paying for it, you're going to the gym. So figure out a routine, show up with consistency. And that was my first thing. I went and met with personal trainers because I was like, maybe I'll get a personal trainer. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the energy feels like. And so I go to the personal trainer and, they're asking, what are your goals? Blah, 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 blah. And I just didn't feel aligned to hire them when I didn't have real, hard, fast goals. I don't have a wedding that I'm trying to shape up for. I don't have a marathon that I'm trying to run or a triathlon that I'm trying to do. I don't have any competitions that I'm like trying to go up against. Like really, I'm just, my main goal was show up for myself and to be consistent in showing up for myself. I guess that's one. And then to work towards flexibility and strength. And so those things, I didn't really have a hard, fast timeline of like, oh, I need to do it by the end of the year. I need to be able to do this. Like, I just don't have that motivation. I'm very much a slow, like, kind of go and enjoy things. If I'm going snowboarding, I'm probably like twirling down the mountain, like slowly just in my own world, because that's how I roll. And so I know my energy. All I wanted to know is I could show up and do that. Okay. And I don't treat the gym just as a place where I go get beat up and torn down or anything like that. I also treat the gym as my spa experience. So I go there to soak in the hot, like I spend time and I block out time where I go soak in the hot tub. I go into the steam room, the dry sauna, I sit on the massage chairs, and I just kind of float in the water and just enjoy myself, where I'm just like relaxing. So it's not just a place where I go and try to get strong and be consistent. It's also a place where I go and I practice self-care. So those two things like go hand in hand, because I love myself enough that I'm not going to abandon my body by not taking care of it through proper self-care, where I'm mentally like, I have to take care of my body. It needs to feel good. And if I'm going to put a little bit of pain into it, I need a little bit of love too. So that was important to caring for myself, not just physically, but like mentally and all that stuff. So that's how I have been looking at it. Oh, well, it's okay, Evie. I appreciate you being here in the chat. Okay. So while we have one that's oriented towards receiving, which is belonging, and then we have stewardship, which is towards care, those don't diminish the ache of not feeling like you belong, or that there's, some disconnection somewhere, but it gives what that ache is a direction to go. So now that you know what the ache is, okay, because it's present, it just doesn't disappear. Now you can give it a direction of where is this going to go, okay? So let's talk a little bit about stewardship. So instead of asking, when you're in stewardship, when you're in embodiment, really is part of this, like that embodiment. Instead of saying, who is accepting me? Who's pick me? What do they call it? Pick Misha? Is that the way they say it? Pick Misha? Instead of saying like, pick me, okay? Or instead of saying who's accepting me, we ask what has been placed in my care, okay? And you can look at it in a lot of different directions. A lot of people have a car and they don't take care of the inside of the car. So if you have a car and it's trashed right now, like one of the things that you can do as a starting thing is take it to the car wash, vacuum it out, take all the garbage out, get it cleaned, like get it looking like you care about the inside, okay? That's gonna start to, like that internal shift of your inside where you're taking care of it. That car is also a representation of that too. So it could be your home, it could be your car, it could be whatever things that you've been entrusted with. You're gonna start looking at those things. Okay, so we ask what's been placed in my care instead of why don't they choose me? Okay, we ask, how do I faithfully tend to what already belongs in my life? How am I attending to the things in my life? Is it just being a junk drawer room? Do we have a junk drawer room? Is there a place where everything kind of goes? Like everybody kind of has this, but are we attending to it? Are we following through with attending to it? So we're really asking, how do I faithfully tend to what already is belonging here in my life? And how am I showing up for that stuff? So instead of asking, where is my purpose? That location, where is my purpose? We're asking, what responsibility is already sitting quietly in front of me that I have not been attending to, okay? What responsibility is already in front of me that I haven't been attending to? Now, this transition of shifting from that belonging mentality into that stewardship mentality that is going to shift our mind from being in scarcity and really focusing on responsibility. Okay? This concept is so important as we go into this next AI age. Okay? It's going to be so important for us to recognize these things as we go into the next AI age. Okay? So it's all connected. It's all beautifully connected. I feel like Charlie Day, where he has like all the strings. Sometimes I'm like, it's all connected, you guys. Maybe I'll make a meme of it and post it. It's pretty funny. Okay, so what does stewardship actually look like? Okay, we might have this imagined fantastical idea of what stewardship looks like, but stewardship is not glamorous. Okay, it's not glamorous, and it rarely begins with changing the world. So the people that are out there that are trying to change the world without really, like Jordan Peterson had it really right when he said, clean your room, bucko. I don't know if you guys know who Jordan Peterson is, but that was his famous saying, is like, clean your room. If you want to be a change in the world, start cleaning your room. And there's a lot of truth to that. Okay. Behaving with good stewardship, it doesn't start by changing the world. It starts by changing your internal world, but not the external world. The internal world is the starting place. Okay. And I talk a lot about this in my podcast, where that internal world, whatever it looks like, if it's messy in there, you're going to start to see that almost holographically in your life, where everything is just kind of piled up around you and you're not taking care of it. And you're like, oh my gosh, why don't I have whatever the thing is? Because you feel like you're in lack, because right now you're looking around you and you're like, everything is just piled everywhere. Okay. So good stewardship starts with caring for what is already ours, beginning internally with your internal sanctuary. And I just did a beautiful coherence arc, I think starting at episode 54, with the foundation, and then going all the way up to coherence and signal, because that signal that is shooting out of us like light, we have light inside of us that's shooting out, it's frequency. Our frequencies are going everywhere around us. That's really the change in here is what's going to start changing out there. Okay. So let's talk about caring well for what is already ours. I talked a little bit about it, but the first one is going to be your body. So moving from criticizing the body to nourishing it with food, nourishing it with activity, whatever it is. So you move from like this punishment mentality where you're just like eating junk and not things that you know would nourish your body, to partnership with your body. How am I connecting with it? So it's showing up consistently. It's honoring your recovery. It's building strength in your body and listening instead of forcing it to do stuff. Okay. When I did coherence, I don't remember what episode that was, I deeply went into your mind, which is, we all use our minds to like problem solve and try to like make it through to the next thing. This thing will hustle you to death if you are only listening to your brain. Okay. That's one agreement that you can have. But we also have our heart, which, kind of tells us, oh, I kind of like that, or no, I don't like that, So we have our heart, which also needs to be in agreement with the mind. And then we have our body, which I can't remember who wrote it, but there's a book called The Body Keeps Score. And it was just this really beautiful detail of how our bodies hold fascia in it, hold these somatic memories that the brain is just overlooking. It'll overlook the heart, it'll overlook the body, and it will keep on going and oh, we have a problem, this is how we're going to solve it. But for full embodiment and coherence, we need to be connected also with our heart. So having our mind, heart, and our body all in agreement of any decisions that we're moving into, okay? We're listening to each area and then making our decisions. We're not just reacting, we're listening first. Man, I really would like to go hike Mount Hood. And our brains could say, oh yeah, okay, well, we have all the gear for it. Let's just go do the thing. But maybe our body's like, you know what? My knees don't feel like I'm up for that task. That's listening instead of forcing your body to go into it. That's a really gentle example, but still an example nonetheless. Now, with our next example, looking at the home, we're looking at cleaning, we're looking at gardening, maybe repairing things, creating a peaceful environment for you to come home and truly relax. Not because people are watching you in your home, but because this is a place that is entrusted to you. So if you are renting a room and you just have your one room, put a lot of effort into creating that space to be the most peaceful, regenerative space that you can. Make your bed, organize things so you can find them, take garbage out if there's garbage lying in there. Really look at that space as a place of peace and a peace that's connected to you, okay? Because it's been entrusted to you. Yeah, you're paying for it. Yeah, you're paying for it. That energy is going out. That cash energy is going out. And you're getting a space. That's the energetic exchange there, okay? So same thing with the house. Maybe you own the house. Maybe you rent the house. Doesn't even matter. It's been entrusted to you to care for it. So start engaging with how am I caring for the things that I'm entrusted with, okay? Finances are another place. So some people might see finances as just an accumulation, but it's important to not just see money as merely accumulating. How much can I get the most of? But we look at our finances when we're stewarding, we're looking at how am I honoring agreements, okay? And so this practice, you're practicing wisdom before the abundance arrives, okay? So you're not just accumulating things. Your finances are a way of honoring contractual agreements that you've done. So I've changed calling it, debts into like my agreements, my financial agreements. And my goal is to satisfy every financial agreement that I have. Maybe it's the monthly light bill. Maybe it's the monthly phone bill. Maybe it's, the subscription that I have. I'm looking at all of those things as these contractual agreements that I'm honoring every month. And it brings me gratitude to do those things. So that's the wisdom of those things. Hi, Deborah McKinney. Very important. How to get a hold of your life and things post-demic, post-life, and post-tragedy. We must keep moving forward in stewardship. Loving you and this. Yes, this is a great topic. Life is so wonderful for me to even have that come in. It's very fun. Okay, next is work. Work is more than just earning a paycheck. So if you're looking at your work as just earning a paycheck, you can start there. Now work, you're learning, hopefully you're learning there, you're growing in more excellence, maybe becoming an expert in your field. So if you've been in a field for at least 10 years, you're considered an expert in that field, okay? That means you have expertise in that field, all right? Work is also creating order, so you're just you're taking things in and you're reorganizing them and so that it's in order, and then making life easier for those around us. It's more than just a paycheck. There's, there's information that you're getting. There's, the exchange of expertise and excellence in what you're doing. You're creating order with kind of some chaotic situations that can happen. And you're looking at those around you and what kind of relationships you're being entrusted with your coworkers, with your customers, and with your managers and everybody that you're around. Your goal when you're at work is to kind of make life a little bit easier for everyone to function and to grow together. Okay, it's a good place to practice relationship and those interpersonal skills that are important. Okay, and then I have a couple other areas that we're going to talk about as examples of these stewardship areas. So the next one are relationships. So instead of asking who is including me, which is kind of that like, do I belong question, when we're in stewardship, we're asking, instead of asking, we're just becoming someone who creates space for people. Space and grace is amazing, and it's so rewarding. So when you're becoming that person who creates that space and that grace, that's helping to care for the entrusted relationships that you have in your life. When you're in stewardship, you're someone who starts to practice reciprocity. So for a long time, I was just a giver. I did not like receiving things from people. And I kind of had an eye-opening moment where I was like, well, if I'm not receiving, then somebody who enjoys giving like I do is not able to give to me. So I'm like blocking the blessing from not receiving. So when you're in stewardship, you're practicing not just giving, but receiving as well, and receiving in kind, meaning that you thankfully, you thank someone for giving, you're giving somebody the gift of giving by receiving, and you do it with sincerity and love and true appreciation, okay? So when you're practicing that reciprocity, you're just keeping the energy flowing, because some people need to give and some people need to receive. And if you're blocking one of those things, you're blocking energy in your life. And when you're stewarding, you're going to recognize when those things get blocked. So you're practicing reciprocity, you're practicing that giving and receiving relationship. And then a steward, or being in stewardship, is also someone whose presence leaves others feeling seen. Okay, so when you're in that stewardship embodiment, you're really a lot like when you're in the presence of somebody else and you're seeing them, like I see you, and you're acknowledging that. Think about at the beginning when I was saying, oh, where do I belong? Where do I locate? Where's my group? Where's my people? Now, instead of you asking that, you're just being that for somebody else, okay? You're being that mirror for somebody else of like, as a steward, I am recognizing your energy that you're putting into whatever the thing is, okay? So your presence alone is so powerful that they just feel seen and they like to be around you. That's stewardship. And finally, the last area, which is very interesting, is creativity. Okay? Stewardship is also minding these creative endeavors. So it could be your voice, it could be writing, it could be ideas, not because that is to leave you feeling important, okay? But because it's something that has been entrusted into your care. So your level of creativity has been entrusted in your care, and it's your responsibility to showcase how that creativity is flowing out. For me, it's talking to a phone for an hour or two a week, or maybe even more. I don't know. We'll see how everything goes as I grow and really tend to my podcast. I want it to grow. Okay. That's one of the things that I want. But most importantly, I want the message to be felt deeply with people. So when they listen to the transmission, they feel seen. When they listen to the transmission, they're feeling like, oh, this person is also going through the same things, or has gone through the same things that I'm going through right now. And so, it gives me a little bit of hope and courage to continue going through that. All right. That's my creativity. This is my creativity. I have lots of other creativities, but this is one of them that I enjoy doing, because it's been entrusted into my care. This is something that I've tended to. I'm at episode number 76. Most people don't make it past episode 20 in their podcasts. Okay. So it's something that's been entrusted. It's something that I value. It's something that I continually cultivate and continue growing. I've made it to 303 subscribers, so it's very awesome. But stewardship often feels like chasing inspiration, less like chasing inspiration and more like honoring responsibility. Okay. So why stewardship heals belonging? And this surprised me because, obviously naming the year of connection and wanting to thinking of that as being a way to externally connect with others, because I was feeling a little alone, a little left behind, lacking a foundation, just kind of floating around, not knowing where I'm going, what direction I'm going. Why has stewardship helped to heal that belonging? And so the more that I focused on belonging, because it does hit deeply. Like I said, this is a basic human need, belonging. But the more I focused on the belonging, the more I became aware of every place I didn't feel chosen. But the more that I focused on stewardship, the more grounded I became in what was already mine to cultivate. So it helped belonging stopped becoming something that I was chasing, and it became something that I am embodying. Okay. Ironically, it's very ironic, but the people who are deeply rooted in stewardship often become the safest place for others to belong. So the more that you're attending and caring for the things that you've been entrusted, the more that it's going to help others around you feel safe to express themselves as well. Okay? Yeah, you've got to have purpose. Absolutely. Meaning and making meaning is part of our higher mind. That's our higher mind is definitely needing that. And a lot of us are kind of stuck in our little amygdala animal brain. And yeah, that's how you can succumb to all the fears of the world. There's lots of fears out there for you to have. But as you grow, especially in stewardship and embodiment, then you're going to start being a safe place, not just for yourself, but for others as well. Because we've got to feel that meaning and that. Well, 64 minutes. Whew. That was a great transmission. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I feel really good. So in closing, let's talk about what that invitation might look like. So the invitation isn't to stop longing for belonging, okay? like I said, belonging is a innate human need. We all need to feel like we belong, okay? So the invitation isn't to stop that longing, but maybe to let that longing mature from I hope someone chooses me into I will faithfully steward what has already been entrusted to me. Okay? Because belonging may not be finding the right room that you belong in. It's not finding that. It may begin with becoming the kind of person who cultivates life wherever they are. So I know that the tools that I'm learning, it's not the house that I'm in, it's not the job that I have, it's not the relationships that are around me. It's how am I caring for that? Okay? Because all of these things, I listen to P.D. Pablo, and there's a thing that he says, and he's like, I'm really grateful for the things that I have around me, because this is not promised to us tomorrow. We can lose this tonight, which is absolutely true. We don't know how long we'll be in the circumstances that we're in. It could be a year, it could be a month, it could be 15 years, however long. You don't know how long you're going to be in your current circumstances. So developing these tools within yourself of learning how to fully steward and care for the things around you will start to change the world around you. And as things change and you show that, hey, I'm responsible for this, I'm not going to guarantee it, but naturally it's oh, I'm energy. I can flow through Amelie and, continue through life because she's stewarding the energy properly. And now I become a flow state for energy. Okay? That's how I can come on and talk for 67 minutes. And all the ideas and all the connections and everything is just the energy is just flowing through me. And that's where the creative outlet is in my voice. Okay? So we start becoming embodied in stewardship. Okay? Some reflection questions that you can ask yourself are, what in my life has already been entrusted to me? So this is 1. 2, where am I waiting for permission instead of practicing stewardship? Am I waiting for permission to get my gym membership? Am I waiting for permission to go out and, clean up the garden or clean up the garage or clean up my car? Am I waiting for permission, or am I going to just actively practice stewardship of it? That's been entrusted to me. I'm going to go take care of it. And I'm going to do it in joy and gratitude. I'm happy to clean this up. It's been a long time. I'm sorry for, you don't even have to be sorry. I'm showing up today. We're not living in yesterday. We're living in the present moment as embodied stewards of the things that we have around us. Okay. Another reflection question is, what relationships feel reciprocal? Okay. I had to get rid of a lot of relationships last year. A lot of long-term relationships with people, because they were no longer serving me and or my energy. And it was just kind of, going into this, I don't want to say black hole like it's negative, but that's how it felt. It's anytime I would dedicate any energy to these relationships, there was no reciprocity. And it was actually stealing whatever energy that I had. I was you know what? I need this energy to be a proper steward of the things that I'm responsible for around here, or the things that have been entrusted. So we look at what relationships feel reciprocal and what part of my life is quietly asking for my care today. You think 5 years of saying, hey, go to the gym, wasn't my life quietly asking me to, hey, just go start working out, go start doing the thing. And I'm glad that I did it now, but it would have been a lot easier on my body if I had done it, 5 years ago. But I'm grateful to be able to show up today. And the last question as a reflection question is, if I stopped auditioning for belonging, how would I begin showing up differently? So instead of auditioning to fit in, if I stopped doing that, how would I begin showing up differently? And really start thinking about how you would be. So it's not an audition, you're just practicing. How would I begin showing up differently? And as you're scrubbing your walls, as you're mopping the floor, as you're sweeping and vacuuming, you can think about all these things. Because you're going to have plenty of time to okay, how am I going to show up differently? I mean, that's what I do. I was a painter for a long time and house painter. It was just so relaxing. I could just show up to the job site, put on a podcast, and maybe not even listen or put on some music. And I'm just prepping the space, painting the space. And, in the end, it's just this beautiful new area. You've kind of cleansed the area with, with your energetic magic of paint. And, so when you're cleaning, you can really kind of go into the inner sanctuary and start looking at, okay, how am I showing up? Who am I right now? How do I want to show up? Am I trying to belong, or am I embodied fully in my life and appreciative of every aspect and area of it? Okay. This has been a great help to me. I'm so glad, Evie, that you joined. And like I said, I'm just happy that people come on and they feel connected to the transmission that I provide. I go live every Tuesday at 5:30 on Pacific Daylight Time right now. So please make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel and continue showing up. I will continue to show up with consistency, and it'll be great if you guys could and share, spread the message if you know of other people that are maybe needing to hear a positive voice out there. I would love for you to share that message with someone else. And yeah, I'm really grateful I came across this stream while you were on this topic. Yeah, absolutely. Good way to put it. I should write that one down. Well, this will be saved, so you can always come back. But I thank you guys so much. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I may or may not come on again this week. I don't know. I kind of like doing my once a week thing because I'm doing a lot of energetic moving, as you can tell. I'm practicing really good stewardship, and so a lot of my energy goes into that. And I'm revamping my studio space, so my light broke, so I had to figure out another situation. But I'm ready for a new computer, so I'm gonna start looking at that a little bit more seriously, and maybe I'll take my son's old one, but because I just need it to log in and do all the OBS stuff and whatever, and I might just have him set it up for me because he just likes to do that kind of thing. Room full of people watching here. Hello, bikinis. Thank you guys so much. Join the Bikini Ministries. Maybe you can put your @ in there, or put your @ in the chat after I post the video. But they go live every Sunday it's always 10:30 my time, and I think that's 1:30 East Coast time. So definitely watch from there. But I hope that you guys have a wonderful evening. This has been episode number 76 on stewardship. And my name is Amelie. I am your host of Celestic Intelligence. And I am so grateful for you to be hearing the transmission today.